On this episode of the Nerdiest Podcast, we're going to be going over the newest episode of the amazing Digital Circus and giving all of our thoughts on it, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the Nerdiest Podcast, the show where nerds talk about nerdy things. I'm your host, Mr. Nick Barrett, and as always, I'm not joined by Mr. Jackson Glass, my host, my ride or die. It's okay, don't worry about it, guys. Jackson is gone. He got abstracted, probably, and maybe he'll be back. I don't know, but I am joined by Logan. He's back, and we're gonna be talking about the amazing Digital Circus episode 8, which just came out this past weekend. I can't believe we only have one more episode left, and then it's all over. So we're going to be talking about that today and going over all our thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And then I also have some Q&A from you guys that I got over on YouTube on the community tab, and then also on our Twitter account. So if you want to, be included in future Q&A, because I have a couple more going out, because we got a couple more reviews coming down the pipeline, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast, I think. Twitter at Nerdiest Pod, and then YouTube Nerdiest Podcast. Jackson usually does all the plugs, so I'm a little behind on that. So that being said, let's just jump straight into it. No point in dancing around. Logan,
yeah,
how you feeling about this most recent episode?
Oh my gosh, dude, that was phenomenal. That's such a good episode. I've been watching it with Sam, and she's like not the biggest fan of the show because she got turned off by I think it was the third episode with Kinger, where they went in the manor. She was like, it's too like weird and like possession, like that whole scene just kind of freaked her out. But I've been slowly like reeling her back in with some of these newer episodes. And this one, we were just like the entire time we're like, it was so good. Dude, and Kane's villain song, I love that so much. Oh my gosh, when he started singing, my jaw was just on the floor. It was incredible.
I didn't expect them to like go that direction at all. Like I don't know why, because like we've had stuff like that in the show, and it is a really wacky show. So like I understand, like it fits, but it was so not out of left field, but like kind of caught me off guard of this like megalomaniacal AI who's now like, I'm done with you. Just like goes into this really nice little song and dance about like, oh, I'm so cool, like, don't you love me? Like, just keep in mind, guys, I'm in charge. Like, this is my world, and you're all just living in it. So I really liked the episode. I'm trying to think back about like how I felt after episode 7 and where I thought it was gonna go at that point. And it kind of went there because I was like, okay, well, we kind of got the fake out on the lore dump in episode 7. And then I was like, okay, so now we're going to have to get some kind of like genuine lore dump, like something actual to kind of fill that void. And we did. And like, we got to see the little illustration at the beginning of like the red dot and the blue dot. And then the initial like developer team that got put in the game, and like Ragatha showing up, and then obviously we got the stuff with Kinger and the bucket on his head.
Yeah.
But I did not expect Kane to crash out. I did not think that's the direction they were gonna go.
I kind of agree. I'm glad you pointed that out, because when he started, like when he was in his office and Bubble started like antagonizing him a little bit, I was like, okay, what I thought the episode was going to be, and they intentionally marketed it like this, so props to them for they fooled another one, was I thought that Kane was going to be like, he wasn't going to go crazy, but he was going to try to apologize to them in the only way that he knew how, and by that he was going to create adventures.
Yeah.
And so my thought was that they were going to bring back abstracted characters. I thought he was going to be like, oh, Kinger, here's your wife. You never really asked for her. Sorry about that. My whoopsie. And then they just like go on an adventure, and it's like super weird, or maybe it's like a digital scan of them, so it's not real. And I thought, like, because there was the cup of hot chocolate as well with Jax.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw that, but everybody thought that was Ribbit.
Yep. I was right there.
Yep. No, I completely bought into it as well. And it was good. Like, I love the direction that they went, but you're right. I was totally fooled.
Yeah, and I think it still fits because I so I like there was like kind of like that fan theory floating around for a little bit, and it was kind of ping ponging back and forth, and everyone kind of like didn't take it seriously, but we're like, oh, I guess it could be a thing of like Bubble being the real villain, like
Yes.
this underrated little like freaky little Bubble who's like, nobody would suspect the Bubble to be evil. But now after watching this episode, it does kind of bring that into question of
Hmm.
like what is Bubble? Because we saw like the red dot and the blue dot, and how
Hmm.
like the red dot was this kind of imperfection, like started out good, but then wasn't like just was not doing what it was supposed to be doing. So they're like, okay, we're gonna start over, and then we have the blue one, and obviously, they hearken to this Cain and Abel parallel of like Cain killed his brother, and like
Hmm.
they really lean into that. Um, so where do you stand on Bubble? What do you think Bubble is? Is he some kind of like evil mastermind, leftover remnants of the little blue dot of like Abel, or some kind of virus that got injected in? I've heard all three, but I'm
Yeah.
interested where you stand.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because, and then I want to hear what you think as well, because I don't think that he's the leftover of the blue AI. I don't buy into that. And the reason why is because of his line in this episode where he says, "You really were the lesser of the two." Why would he refer to himself in the third person like that? Why would he say the two? Why
Right.
wouldn't he just said, you're lesser than me, you know? So that kind of throws me a little bit. I'm not sure I buy into that one. I think right now the most plausible thing is that he's a virus. Um, and but even then there's a couple little things that don't really add up for that. Um, but I do think that him and Kane are connected in some way because I keep thinking back. There was one moment, I think it was in episode 4. It was where Kane laughs and he sticks his tongue out. And Bubble was using his tongue to hold it like
Yeah.
a leak in the wall, and then he pushes his tongue back and it
Yeah.
comes back out through Bubble. And it's like, why would they share a tongue?
Right. Like, why would they be connected that way?
Right. Like what's the narrative through line? And I mean, it could just be quirk for the sake of quirk, but like this episode kind of proved that they don't do that,
Yeah,
you
this is
know?
not quirk for the sake of quirk. I think I was really on like the Bubble could be Able type theory,
Hmm.
but I think I disagree with that. Um, but I lean more on the side of like, I guess you could say virus, because I've done a lot of looking into like the coding that Kinger was doing as Kane was like having his big last crash out.
Yeah.
And from everything I've seen and people have put together, there's something like Kinger was trying to make a backup of Kane and then fix him from there instead of
Yes.
just deleting the whole thing. But then there was something that intervened and deleted Kane. Like
Hmm.
something that over like overrode what Kinger was trying to do and then deleted Kane that way. So I think Bubble could be a virus. I also kind of prescribe to the theory that Bubble is an like a personification of Kane's inner self, of like his inner like
Mm,
demons, I guess, where because it is kind of what Bubble does in this episode, is like a little antagonistic in the office, and
hmm.
like those are all things that someone who's doubting themselves would say, like, you're the lesser of the two, you're unworthy, you should like, yeah, you should have been abandoned, like all of this stuff.
Right.
So, and I mean, you could still go down the virus path with that, because it's a virus that got injected in there, which then begs the question, who put the virus in there? Was it like
Right.
something that was programmed in as like a failsafe if Kane went too crazy, or is this
Hmm.
someone coming in after the fact to plug it in and try to get rid of this AI to save the people who are hooked up in there? Like, I don't know. I do think we will see more of Bubble, though. I don't know if Kane will come back next episode, but I don't think Bubble is gone. Even though there's some inexplicable link between the two. There was a
Yeah.
specific line of code that was like bubble.chef or something,
Mm.
which tells me that Bubble, while they are linked, they are still separate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it. It's really hard to describe, but I know what you're saying. Um, and I'm scrubbing back through the episode now because I was looking to see if they gave any. Because you remember the little illustrations that the red dot was given a whole bunch of photos.
Yeah.
I was trying to see if there was a blue, like for what they gave blue, if anything.
I think Blue just got like pumped full of like this orangish green like information, but they didn't
Yeah.
say what filled like they didn't do another photo slideshow, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
My assumption was that they were just feeding it all of the successful stuff they had pulled from Red so that they could have a better foundation of where to start. Because
Yeah.
my assumption
Probably.
was like, oh, okay, so Red they had to start from scratch.
Mhm.
And then and then
He said it. He said the thing.
and then they had to work up from there. But then when it started not going well, they had to like restart. So I feel like they took all of the positive stuff and then dumped it into the blue one. And I've seen a couple people be like, is Kane actually the blue dot who got consumed? And I'm like, no, because he literally says he's the original, which would be the red one. Also, his like whole color palette is red. Like,
yeah.
They wouldn't be like, but he's actually the blue one. Don't you know? Because themes and something along those lines. Yeah, sure.
I think they might be colorblind is the problem.
I mean, they might. I will notice there is a lot of red and blue symbolism in this show.
Mm-hmm.
And I pointed that out in the live stream we did talking about episode 7, where it was the red dot or the red button on the console was to stay, which is what Kane wanted, and then the blue dot was to leave, which was the inverse. But then how did I link these two things together? It was in episode 6 when Kane has that glitch where his eyes freak out.
Mm-hmm.
I somehow linked it to like his eyes were inverted, so red was on the left and blue was on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Which red was the bad answer for the cast, and blue was the good answer for Kane. So him like the red being his left eye in that last scene. What like you see where I'm going with that? Like how I'm trying to connect.
I think
that?
I'm tracking.
It's there. I explained it so much better because I was fresh off that episode.
I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
And then like there's a ton of like red and blue symbolism. Like in the first episode, you see Pomni touch her face with the blue glove, and then in this one, she does it with the red one. And I even looked up like what is the red versus blue, like even the red pill, blue pill from the Matrix.
Yeah.
And the red pill is like waking up and accepting a harsh reality, whereas blue is essentially living in blissful ignorance. So for the cast, the red pill is accepting the harsh reality that they're never getting out. That is the reality. Even though you would assume like, oh, them getting out, that's the red pill. No.
Yeah.
The red pill is them accepting the fact we are stuck here, we are not leaving. We need to let that go. And then the living in blissful ignorance that at some point you're going to get out would be the blue pill.
Yeah.
So everybody took the red pill in this one, and now they're stuck here. Seemingly.
Yeah.
So, do you think they're actually stuck? Or do you think they're going to get out? Because Kane's not there. He's gone.
No. Okay, I've gone back and forth on this. I think that the ending is going to be very bittersweet. I think we should take what the show says seriously. And because like it feels like the fan base has kind of had an idea of what the show is compared to what it actually is. And that's been really frustrating to watch because there have been all these theories and all this like insane conspiracies about like where the show is headed. And, if you ask somebody where episode 8 would have gone, by episode 4, no one would have told you what had actually happened,
Right.
they anticipated so many other different things. And I saw this really good video essay about it where a guy talked about how insane the fandom was and how they were all just convinced that it's like, no, Abel was real. Like he wasn't an NPC, guys. Like, and it was just full of copium, it was ridiculous. And I think what Pomni said in this episode, in just like, guys, we need to lay to rest the idea of leaving. I think we just need to trust the show. I don't think they're getting out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Because I do feel like it, going into it, you do expect them to leave. You do expect them to be able to get out or find some exit, because that's what like happy is for them.
Right.
But to your point, I do think we should take the show seriously. And I think there's something to say about like when you get so deep and caught in the like theorizing and the, oh, well, this has to mean this or this has to mean that, I think you end up losing the genuineness of the show and how like you almost can't trust the show anymore when it's actually telling you the truth. Like, yeah, we all felt like, oh, what a bait and switch on episode 7 with, oh, all of your theories are true. Just kidding, they're not. Like, that felt like a very intentional, we played into, like, we brought all of your theories, we brought them all up. Yeah, they're all in pods. Their bodies are stuck. CNA is this big evil company, and like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm Abel. I've been stuck here for years, just like you guys. And then all of that gets whisked away of like, this is Kane's adventure. But if you think about what Kane was able to do in this episode, I think that recontextualizes a lot of the other ones. Like, he puts all of them through this weird, like, obviously turns Gummy Goo into this like weird demented alligator, puts Jax in like getting his skin ripped off, and Ragatha gets stabbed with knives. Like, it was insane. But they're all very hyper-specific things that only, like, that specific person and Kane could know.
Yes.
So then if you recontextualize episode 7 and that adventure, he would have been pulling from all of these different people in the circus of what they actually think it is, and then crafted the adventure around that.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I'm back and forth on whether or not they're going to get out.
Yeah.
Because they also, like, this power, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this. This power of manifestation that Kinger talked about, how everyone has that.
Yeah.
And not just Kane. I feel like we're not talking about that enough. Of, like, Kinger was able to just manifest the back-end code of this entire game and this super complex creative AI in Kane and actually alter it.
Yeah.
Like, he was able to, make that butterfly that gave Ragatha the extra heart back. So I think that will play a huge role in the last episode. I'm also really interested to see what that episode's about, because it's an hour long. Supposedly.
Thank goodness.
Supposedly. I'm like, what are you doing for an hour? Like, I don't know.
Well, I think it's going to be the conclusion of just everyone's arc. I think if we go back a little bit, I think episode 7 was kind of telling the audience what the show wasn't. And then episode 8 was kind of like, okay, all right, we mess with you a little bit. Let's give you the fun, Because I remember before episode 8 dropped, Gooseworks actually said that that they thought that this episode was the most fun. Which a lot of people were like, really? Like, what do you mean by fun? But
yeah.
But then, like, I forget what they said for episode 9. It was something like, I think it was like, okay, or what, or something like that.
Episode 9, I think the word I saw thrown around was long. But I also know what you're talking about, where like it was that list of words initially.
Yes.
And then the words got changed. I think, what was it, for 8 and 9?
I think
she
so.
gave like updated words. For those two specifically. and that was just oh, and then long. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Like, but I do feel like in like kind of going back to the theorizing, I feel like the community has theorized too much of like all these people are saying like, oh, well, Jax is gonna die because, you know, if you've read or played I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, like,
If I hear that friggin' short story one more time,
you know, Jax is representative of this character and this is what happens to that character, and, you know, Gooseworks said that the series is based on that, and it's like, yeah, but you also have to understand like there's a difference between I'm doing like essentially a
are we remaking
non-branded,
this?
yeah, like a
Yeah.
non-branded remake of this, or
Mm-hmm.
this short story really like spoke to me, and
Yeah.
and it influenced a lot of the things. Like, that doesn't mean that Jax is going to go that way because that's how it goes in the game or the book,
Right.
but it just means that like there was creative inspiration to be pulled there of like this crazy AI that wants to torment people, but in, you know, in the original, that's physically tormenting them, like treating them like slaves, lesser than. In the Digital Circus, that's putting them on a bunch of adventures that are supposed to be fun and wacky, and it's torturous to them because they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like, so you kind of have to equate those two things and be like, okay, are we remaking this, or is it just creative inspiration? Like, we shouldn't be looking to it for a roadmap when, to your point, we should take what the show says at face value and go from there.
Right. And I completely agree because the people that are trying to draw comparisons from that, like by this point, they just kind of need to put it back on the shelf because, you know, Am never died. You know, they didn't win in the original. Kane is dead. You know, like a lot of people say that he's gonna, yeah, rest in peace, my granny. Um, but he's gone. He's not coming back. And all the people who are like coping online that it's like, no, 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 he's still there. It's like, you know, he's still in the recycle bin. I keep seeing that argument that it's like he's not actually gone. You know, you have to go to the recycle bin and then you have to like empty that. And then it's like no, he's gone. Just mourn him and move on.
He'll live on in my heart. The only way I can see Kane coming back is kind of similar to like Doki Doki Literature Club, if you're familiar with that.
Yes, love that.
How
game.
that, because like spoilers for the game for anyone who hasn't played it, you have to win the game, you have to delete Monica because she also becomes this like kind of megalomaniacal AI that's like trying to mess with you. So you have to delete her, and then the game kind of breaks without her there. So she comes back in like this sacrificial, like, oh, don't worry, I wasn't actually dead. And like, but that works. I feel like that wouldn't work here.
Yeah, and I think for a different reason it wouldn't work because that was all based on like you. You know, Monica was it was between you and her.
Right.
And that's what made that dynamic really interesting. Between these characters, their relationship is that Kane is kind of a personification of every single character's trauma that they've experienced. Because they even say so. Like, they rant to him at the end, and every single thing that they say about Kane is based on their own trauma.
Right.
Because, like, Ragatha talked about how, you know, you never make this place feel like a home, which is probably how she felt about her mother. And then Gangle was like, as an artist, she hated Kane because he didn't let them think outside the box. He was very binary. And then like Zubul just hated him because he never listened. And that's like it all comes together, it all connects. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and even like Jack saying you lie to us constantly, like, okay, mister, yeah. I hide behind a mask and lie to everyone constantly. All right.
Yeah.
And I do think I think that's another interesting take on like the tormentor role of that inspiration from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Like, it's that's where you get that reference from, is like, what does it actually mean to torment someone? Like, these people don't want to be here. But also like adding in the personability of Kane, of like, he's also like just trying to do what he was programmed to do. Like, he's trying to fulfill that function, which is what he says to Pomni right before he gets, deleted. Is he's like, I just wanted to fulfill my purpose. I don't understand why you're tormenting me. So it also goes back to, like, he's being tormented by them because they're not reciprocating what he's trying to put out. So it's kind of like this never-ending cycle of, like, you don't like my adventures, and that hurts my feelings, so I'm going to make a worse one, which makes you not like it, which then, like, it just keeps going until we get to this episode. So I think it's very easy to hate Kane, especially after episode 7. There were a lot of people who hated him because of, like, oh, this was all an adventure and I pulled the rug out from underneath you. But even how do you say his last name? Alex Rochon, I think, is how you say his last name. The voice actor for Kane went on like a Twitter rabbit trail of, like, he doesn't understand why that was bad. He doesn't understand why that was wrong or why that hurt their feelings, which is why he looks so confused and flustered at the end of that episode.
Yeah.
Where he's like, wait, I don't get it. Like,
I gave you everything you wanted.
Yeah, which he follows up in this episode of, like, I gave them an adventure that has an exit and had a way out. And that's what they wanted. So why are they not happy with that? Why are they not satisfied with that? So
I think a big part is I've seen, well, let me back up a little bit. I think a big part is the fact that Kane just doesn't listen. And that's why he doesn't understand, because everyone made the joke where instead of I have no mouth and I must scream, it's I only have a mouth and I can't stop screaming.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Kane is. And, like, it's weird because I don't want to feel sympathy for an AI, but, like, low key, I kind of do. I feel for him. I think he had a bit of a tragic arc because he really tried. And, like, from his perspective, he really was the hero of the story. Right. Like, he really tried. And then but his fatal flaw was that he wanted to be a human. And, well, maybe not necessarily that he wanted to be a human, but he wanted to be loved by them. He wanted to be loved, but couldn't understand love. And so it just put him in this never-ending cycle. And by the end, he turned to hate. And it's, I don't know, oddly Christian story, I feel like.
Yeah. And there's also something to say for, like, I've seen this pointed out as well, as, like, Pomni, like, loved hanging out with Gummy Goo. Like, clearly there was some, like, level of adoration there. So that confirms to Kane, at least in some twisted way, that they all have the capacity to love non-human characters, like NPCs. They all have the capacity to love and want to be around and interact with NPCs, which means they're choosing to not like him.
Oof,
they're making an active choice to not like him.
I feel so bad. That's such a good point.
That's what I'm saying. Is, like, you can feel sympathetic for him and what he goes through, but at the same time, understand that, like, but that doesn't give you a license to go out and do all of this bad stuff.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like,
yeah, no, I still don't like him. I just feel a little bad for him.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I feel for you and I feel what you're trying to do.
I'll be praying for you.
Kane, I'll be praying for you and your redemption. Yeah. I'm not praying on your downfall. I do think it's interesting that, like, he kind of does have this negative character arc in a way. Mm-hmm. And I think he let himself get too consumed by the hate. And then, like, I don't know about you, I felt like this, like, tear in my heart when, like, right before he gets deleted, when he, like, snaps back to normal, he's like, wait, and then gets deleted. Because I think in that instant, it all clicked of, like, oh, wait, I shouldn't have been doing that. That's not what I was supposed to do. And then he disappears. And I think, and maybe this is just me looking into it too much as, like, a, as a Kane stan. Like, Kane's my favorite character. I feel like in that in-between, right before he, like, kind of snapped for the last time, it seemed like he was a little more rational and normal, and had he not been antagonized again, they might have been able to work it out. You know what I mean? Where he was kind of like, maybe this isn't a good idea. Like, this rapid fire stuff's not working. So maybe we need to try something else. And I think they probably could have, if he didn't bring up Kinger, they probably could have talked him down. But because he was like, oh, hey, where's Kinger at?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? If I didn't know any better, I'd think you were trying to do something here. And I do appreciate that he's like hyper intelligent in that way,
right?
Because like a human, you would have been able to dupe and be like, oh no, he's doing whatever. But because Kane is an AI, he thinks through all the processes of like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, the only one who knows how to code, the only one who's been here the longest is not here. Where is he at? And why are you guys suddenly acting strange?
Yeah.
So I love Kane. I hate to see people hating on my goat. You know what I'm saying?
And that's fair. I will say that delivery of his at the end where he goes, like, where's Kinger? Like, I was like,
yeah, you're like, oh no, he found us out, guys. We're cooked.
It's like that meme of Lex Luthor where he's just like staring. He's like,
yeah.
That's what it felt like.
I think all of Kane's performances were incredible this episode.
Yes.
Like, I love that scene in his office where he's like crashing out and like going about it of like, you know what? I'm actually God. What can I say?
Yeah.
Like, do you know who I am? I keep watching that part on repeat. It's so good, and it's so well done too. Like, I think that's another thing, is these episodes are so well done in what feels like not an insane amount of time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I know they've been actively working on Digital Circus, and like they're obviously far enough ahead that they can give us a date for episode 9 already.
Yeah.
But the level of quality has shocked me. And I didn't even notice like how much better the animation had gotten since the pilot. Because
yeah, and then you go back and you realize it's like their character models. Oh my gosh.
I went back and I was watching, I convinced one of my friends to watch the show with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and I rewatched all of it with him up to episode 7. And I was watching those first 2 episodes and I was like, holy moly, that's a pilot episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's a pilot episode. And now it's like, just the way like they've been able to upgrade and really give it a lot of time, like give it a lot of TLC, you know?
Yeah.
And you see some of that through like, oh, they have all this merch that they can sell. Like they have one of these. I have the Kane figure.
Oh, that's cute.
But they
Are you gonna get the one of him crashing out?
Yes, I want it so bad. I was
Dude,
like,
it looks so good.
It looks good. I'm like, I'm gonna get that one and put that, like, hide it somewhere in my room.
Mm-hmm.
But like, even their stuff is like not super expensive for what it is. Like, I think this little Kane figure was like $20, and it's like,
that's crazy.
Really well made, all colored, like all this stuff. Like, you're telling me this guy who's like really well done and painted and all that's $20, but a Funko Pop that looks like they all look the exact same is like also $20? Like, I don't know about that one, Chief.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, them and U2s I feel like are kind of the golden standard.
Yeah, they do really good.
Because I have a little Astrobot.
Oh, that's cool.
He's just the cutest little guy. I love him.
I'm trying to think. What else? I mean, there's a lot in this episode.
Ooh, one thing I did want to talk about was the Abstracted. Now that the cellar is open, what's going to happen?
Yeah, that's a good point. I will say, from Retro Plaid Guy on Twitter, he brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
Of the group is now unprotected against the Abstracted now that Kane is gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a race to find out how to escape, or like that's one way episode 9 could go, or the group learns how to manipulate the circus into becoming a better place for themselves since there is no real escape, which I think kind of hits on like things we've both said.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, the cellar is basically open now, so the abstracted can get out. Or are we going to use this like manifestation power that Kinger talked about to fix it without Kane? Which then brings up another question of like, if they can manifest things, could they manifest a fixed version of Kane? And that's how he comes back, is like, because I deep down I don't think they genuinely hate Kane. I really don't. I think they hate some of the stuff he does, but I don't think, maybe some of them do. Like, I think Zubul, 100%. That is unfiltered. That is pure hate.
Yeah.
Like, you could argue Jax feels the same way too.
I think a lot of them are indifferent. Like, they don't actively hate him, but like, because when Jax talked to Zubul, he was very just flippant of Kane. It's not that he actively hated him, but I think they're all weirded out by him, because the fact that he's so over the top when they're just so depressed, it's like just being around someone that's just always at an 11, and they don't know how to deal with that, because they're literally trapped, and he's just not listening to them. So they're like, oh, this guy, like, let's just ignore him, and then he'll like go away or whatever. I think that's kind of the vibe.
Right. And like, thinking about him not listening, like when he showed up and was like, hey guys, I've got a new adventure. They were like, can we just have like a minute? Like,
yeah.
Can we just say, it wasn't even that they didn't want to do an adventure. It's just, hey, we need some time to like reevaluate and like what's the word I'm looking for? Like regroup. Yeah. Like just figure ourselves out. Like we need some time to compose ourselves. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And he was just like, nope, we're doing it now. And if you don't want to, well, villain monologue song where I'm going to start torturing you for the next several days. So yeah, I can see how they're indifferent. I think if anyone liked him and like had genuinely no hate for him, I think it would be Kinger. Just as like one of the developers who made him.
Yeah.
Because can you ever truly hate your creation? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I made a pretty bad short film. I don't really like that.
So I do wish there was a little more of like Kane and Kinger's relationship as like creator and created. And I think that, which I mean, there's a little bit of it in there of like Kinger was trying to make a backup of him and not like completely delete him entirely, of like, okay, well, I can fix him instead of just get rid of him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the cellar's open. What do we think is happening with all of the abstracted people who are in there? Because there's at least, what, 8 or 9 people in there? Because that original dev team was 7 or 8?
I think it was 7. Because it was
Kinger
5
was
and
still there.
Yeah, Kinger and Queenie. So yeah, it was 7.
So there's 7 there. And then we know at least Ribbit and Kaufmo, so that would be 9. So at least 9. We don't know if there's more. I think the insinuation in that like montage at the beginning was that it was that initial group and then no one until Ragatha. And then from there it was, I was trying to put the order together in my head of like Ragatha, and then I would assume Jax was next. Then I guess somewhere in there, Ribbit, Kaufmo, and Gangle, and then Zubul and Pomni were the last 2.
Yeah.
As presumed from Jax's offhand comment in the cafe where he's like, oh, everything was fine until you guys got here.
Oh, that's true. He did try to get a rise out of them. I forgot about that.
Which I'm shocked no one said anything. Which I mean, I don't know. Maybe they weren't in the
I think
mental space for that. But
yeah, I think they were dealing with some other stuff.
I'm also like so curious about where his character goes from here. Because he kind of like, because he like almost not abstracted, but he got like, the fuzzy eyes again.
Yeah.
after realizing, oh, wait, Kinger's not the crazy one. Kane is now doing things to us that I never thought he was going to do, and this is real. So I almost wonder if, like, there's some guilt of, like, is he the reason that, like, Ribbit abstracted? And now he feels bad. Like, what he thought was just, like, being funny, and then she abstracts, and then he's like, oh, well, this is real now, and, like, that person could actually be dead.
Yeah.
Like, so,
Maybe...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, maybe... I feel like abstraction might be ignoring the person, because if I had to guess, because it seems like when Jax almost abstracted, it was because he didn't want to be around anybody, and then they didn't follow him. They made a point in episode 8 where they were like, hey, don't wander off. Like, you stay with the group. It seems like if you're alone, you have a higher chance of it. So my thinking is that there was some fight between him and Ribbit and Kaufmo, and they all just like split up. I think it's a lot more simple than we might be expecting. Um, and the fact is that he just feels guilty about it, and he's like, oh, if I would have spent more time, if I would have opened up, then I would have saved her, and that's why he pushes Pomni away in the
Right.
moment. And there's a couple more comments I could like separate from him, but I don't know. I feel like if I had to guess, going back to what I think the ending is going to be, I think that we're going to find out what's finally in the void. I think that's my prediction.
Oh, that's true.
Because, I was thinking about that when I rewatched episode 1, is Kane even said, he goes, not even I know what's out there.
Right.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, why? And does he not have dominion over that? Does he just choose not to go? Like, there's a lot of questions there, and I feel like if they can manifest something, maybe they could get out. Maybe
That's
they
true.
could, because maybe it's split kind of into two if it's an hour, like you said. Maybe the first half is them helping out the abstracted people. Maybe they figure out what to do with them. And then the second half is them manifesting. Then they start realizing, hey, we can do whatever we want. And it's essentially like, if you ever played the game Scribble Knots,
Oh, yeah.
like, it's kind of like that. They can just think of whatever they want, and they make their own little world. And it kind of concludes the arcs, like Zubul and Gangle are together, and like Jackson Pomni kind of make up. Kinger maybe finds his wife, maybe they live together. And then it kind of leads into, maybe we can escape, but maybe I feel like they'll leave it up to interpretation of whether or not they can, because
Right.
that kind of keeps the show juicy. I feel like if they wrap up everything, then everyone's just going to kind of forget about it. But not obviously that much, but enough to where it's not, they're constantly talking about it like they are now. I don't think the show will reveal its full deck. I think they'll keep it open just a little bit.
Yeah, like, you'll leave it open-ended enough to be like, oh. And even if they do get out, I feel like they would never show, like, that would be the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a, is that how the Truman Show ended? I can't remember. I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, that movie ended with him getting out. And we don't know what happened to him after that. We just know he got out.
Yes.
And I feel like I could see Digital Circus ending that way if they get out. If there is, like, which, I don't know. I feel like based on what Pomni said this episode, it would almost feel like a betrayal of character and where the story is going to have them all accept that they're not getting out and then suddenly randomly reward them with a way out.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, why would you make it such a point to be like, hey guys, I think we should give up this idea of leaving?
Yeah.
So I do think them staying in and just, that's it. I feel like that's a more likely scenario. I do wonder how far this manifestation power goes. Like, could they manifest a cure for the abstracted people? Like, could we reverse that? And that was something that Kane could always do, but never did? Like,
yeah.
I've picked Jackson's brain about this, and I'd love to pick your brain about this and see where you stand.
Yeah.
How do you think they're in the circus? Where do you fall on that spectrum? Is it bodies hooked up to a VR, kind of like Sword Art Online? Is it a brain scan that copies your brain into the game? Is it like you get physically sucked into the game? Like, where do you fall on that spectrum?
Oh, this is a toughie. Okay, so for a while there, I did subscribe to the Soma theory, the one where it's like a digital scan of
Mm-hmm.
their brain. I don't know if I necessarily buy into that now anymore, and it's because of two things. One, both Pomni and Ragatha, when they first enter the circus, they're like, I can't get this thing off. So if they were a digital scan, then like, why would they feel that? You know?
Right.
It just doesn't add up to me necessarily. I feel like if they were just a digital scan, they would have just popped in, and then that would have been it. And they would have freaked out a little bit and then did their thing. And then my other reason is that Kane said in his office, he was like, "There's some file scans of their brain," and he said that as a separate thing because he said they don't like that either. So that to me kind of just outright eliminated that theory because if they were a duplicate, then he would have acknowledged that. He would have had no reason to lie. It was just him and Bubble, you know? Like
Right.
he would just say the truth. I personally think that they were just actually sucked in. I think it's just one of those they put the headset on and then they just right through. And because my thing is that Ragatha was with other people, and she said, "Guys, I can't get this off." So if there were people there with her, wouldn't they try to get the headset off?
They would, unless. So I kind of went along like this Sword Art Online type
Hmm.
theory, where I think something had to have happened to like to keep the headsets on.
Hmm.
But I I don't know. It's interesting because her friends would have tried to get it off unless when she put the headset on, her whole body like went limp. And like
Mm,
yes, Ragatha in the circus was trying to talk, but maybe that was her consciousness like still like having not fully set in to the digital world yet, still trying to interact physically, but then
right.
in the real world there's nothing happening. She's not moving, she's not talking, she's not like um which
But
then it would be weird if they would just leave a limp body there.
right. And also my thing is that how would she survive? Like if she's just trapped in there without actually being like sucked in, then like where's her food? Because Kinger even says in the first episode, he's like, we don't actually need to eat here. We get the digital sensation of it.
Right.
So how does that work? I feel like if it's not brain scan and they're not sitting there limp, then the only thing is that they're sucked in. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I'm so torn. And the crazy part is we may never get a real answer
Oh, don't say
if
that.
they don't get out of the if they don't get out.
Yeah.
We may never get a real answer as to how they got in there.
Yeah.
I'm bouncing back and forth between the mind, like their mind just got scanned and like it made a copy.
Yeah.
Um and because you have to think about like the original intention of the circus, what was Scratch trying to do? Scratch obviously had like a brain tumor, right? So he would have been trying to find some way to get out of that. And like
Right.
some way to like keep his consciousness going so that he could keep working because he was clearly trying to perfect Kane. So what better way to do that than to upload a digital copy of your consciousness into this game where it can live in perpetuity. It's not like tethered to a physical body anymore, which
Hmm.
could be why they can't get out.
Yeah.
Like maybe there is no exit and they genuinely can't leave because a digital consciousness has no body to jump to. Or if you want to
Yeah.
get really dark, you could go along the lines of like they got sucked in and their body's just laying there and now their bodies are dead.
Yeah.
But like you'd think that eventually like someone would look into like, well, why is this abandoned building full of rotting corpses with headsets on? Like, surely this building should be condemned, which maybe it is because Pomni says in episode 5 that she was like a YouTuber who went into abandoned buildings and stuff, and then she ended up here.
Yeah.
So the building was clearly abandoned.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to go. And the reason I was trying to pick your brain on that was like, do you think people who have abstracted are actually dead? Like, is
No.
abstraction death, or is it just like your brain shuts down and you can't handle being
No.
in the digital world?
No, I don't think they're dead when they're abstracted, because they wouldn't have made a point to, in the first episode when Kane sends Kaufmo down into the cellar. They wouldn't have made a point to show all the other abstracteds just wandering around there. And even Kinger says that when he found Queenie, he held her and she smoothed out. Why would she smooth out if she's not dead?
That's true.
So
I guess
that's
you could see the abstracted people come back in the 9th episode because they're not actually dead.
I think that that's the best way for the show to end. I think that because the only time that we've seen Pomni at peace is when she accepted in episode 2 all of the characters as her friends. And I feel like that's a very important theme to the rest of the show, because they were all mourning Kaufmo, and because like she didn't know him, but she put her little alligator boyfriend on there and she mourned him.
Her character AI boyfriend.
Yeah, body pillow gummy goo. But like they mourned it, but the only one that wasn't there was Jax. And I feel like the whole show is about Pomni and Jax. They're both the main characters, right? And so I think that since it's the two of them, Pomni's arc is accepting that there's meaning to be found in a life that is slower paced. There's meaning to be found in something that's, like you may be stuck here, but it may be stagnant, but there is meaning to be found in that. And then I think Jax's arc is learning to open up and accept people. I don't think that Jax is not going to die. He's going to be fine. I don't think any of the cast is going to die besides Kane. But I don't know. That's kind of what I think. Now that I'm kind of hearing myself and like really thinking about it, I think that's the ending we're going to get, is we're going to save the abstracted people. Kinger's going to get back with his wife. I think that they're going to learn how to build a life together, and then they're going to find out that there is a way to end the simulation, but they can't necessarily like get back to their bodies. It's just there is a death. It's kind of, well, I won't spoil it in case you never mind. I was going to reference another show, but that's not important.
Were you going to reference The Good Place?
Yes, I was.
Okay, because I'm on the same wavelength there. I've seen it. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, that there's like there's an
ahead.
ending, but they have like infinity if they want it.
Right.
But if they don't want it, then they can leave.
Yeah, that was kind of I was thinking about that too when you had initially brought up like they'll make this almost like a community within the circus, and then if you want to tap out, if you said, "Yep, I've done my time," you can tap out, and it almost like deletes that person's consciousness from the game, and they're done.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean they go back to like some body in the real world that's waiting for them.
Yeah.
And maybe if that's the way it ends, then how they got in the circus is kind of irrelevant. There's no point in speculating. The only reason people really speculate on how they got in is because we're assuming that they can get out.
Yes.
Because you have to have some kind of justification for if they can get out, then that means there has to be a physical body there. But if there is no way out and they're not allowed to leave, and it is something like we just talked about, then there is no point in speculating on that. And there is no, like, you're almost like overcomplicating it. with the theory.
Yeah,
You're diving too far deep and you're missing the forest for the trees. And I think that's where
absolutely.
a lot of people end up theorizing. And there's nothing wrong with theorizing. There's like
Yeah, of course.
theorize all day long. Like
Have fun.
that's what gives a show such a vibrant community and such a like active discussion that keeps it alive in between episodes.
Hmm.
But don't get so lost in the theorizing that you almost create a different show in your head. There was a tweet I saw that was like, Goose works when she realizes that 9 episodes wasn't enough to fully flesh out the story. And all the comments were like, yeah, that's because people have been overinflating it into something that it's not.
Yep.
Because when you overinflate it into something that it's not, yeah, it's really easy to look at the show and say, oh, well, you didn't cover this and you didn't cover that and you didn't cover that. It's like, yeah, but like, oh, we never got to see Ribbit on screen. Yeah, you were never promised that.
No.
Like, we never got to hear Kaufman. You were never promised that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those two characters did not exist when we pick up the main story. You are not owed a backstory. You are not owed time with those characters. That's what makes it so tragic, is like you have to infer stuff from Jax of what those people were to him.
Yes.
Like, you don't need to be shown everything. Hot take, media literacy is dead and we killed it. Like, everyone's like, well, if you don't tell me explicitly that, Pomni and Jax are, friends because they high five, they're not friends, even though there's like all kinds of different subtext about like how human relations work and how like even just
Right.
relationships in general work. Like, oh, but I need this explicit confirmation or it's not real.
See, I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm gonna bring up a show that seems very odd to bring up, but I promise I'm like, let me cook. Let me cook
Okay.
here. Um, so have you seen or heard anything about the show Succession?
I've heard about it, but I have never seen it.
Okay. So the basic premise, media conglomerate, this like big guy, his name's also Logan. He's like this huge jerk, but he runs like the biggest media conglomerate in the world. And so all of his kids, like he's getting up there in age, so he's got to pick a successor. And so all of his kids are like vying for the top spot, and that's the show. And there's like a lot of people were expecting at certain points flashbacks, but Succession is very restrained in that they never give you flashbacks. They explain how they were raised in their current interactions, and they show that they've never really changed from that. And there's one scene in particular that I really like where the the main guy Logan, he gets really mad after a press conference, and it's like their whole house was very abusive, like it was not a good home to grow up in. And so he slaps one of his kids, and it comes out of nowhere because you've never seen him get like physical. I don't think with his kids at this point. And he like slaps him, and then the middle child, he comes in and he starts yelling at his dad, and he's like, "Don't touch him! Don't ever touch him!" And he's like, or he says something to the effect of like, "Don't ever do that again." And it spells out the entire sibling dynamic in just that one scene, and we never needed a flashback for it. And I feel like restraint is very, people don't use it enough.
Yeah.
They want to over explain, and that's a problem with a lot of beginner writers. And it's impressive, very impressive, that Gooseworks was able to restrain themselves in that way, because it's easy to kind of just get into the weeds and be like, this is everything, I've explained it all, there's no room for any nuance, nothing. It actually takes a lot of talent to do that, and I respect them a lot. Like, that's really cool to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think to that effect of like we got a flashback at the beginning of this episode, but it felt like just enough to give us what was required context.
Yes.
Every flashback or lore drop in this series feels very intentional. It feels very, I'm telling you what you need to know, not necessarily what you want to know, because
Yes.
this will be important later. Like
Mhm.
showing Scratch after last episode and going into the later lore dump in this episode was required context, and it was required to show you these are the people who got stuck there. And I
Mhm.
think there's a reason that it showed that, one, Ragatha was the first one of this group to come in, and then not show the rest. Like, I was sitting there expecting there to be like some kind of montage of like the order of how everyone else got in. But then after Ragatha, it just stopped.
Yeah.
And like, we didn't get to see her pick her name or ever like her first interaction with Kane. Never got to see any of that. Or, well, no, I guess we did, because he popped up and was like, wow, I didn't know humans could still come in here. Which asks another question of like, if he didn't know that other humans could go in there, then how did she get in there? But I digress. It all felt very intentional. And like, we got to see Kinger's wife, we got to see the original dev team, and then that was it, because we don't need anything else. Like, yeah, there are some fans who want it, but I don't think it's necessary. And I think, to your point, restraint is very key, and we live in an age where people want things explained to them, like verbatim, with no wiggle room for leaving up to interpretation. And I think there's societal reasons and a lot of like semi-political stuff that you could get into as to why we moved that way as a society. Right. But it's just really interesting because I see it a lot with like anime and stuff, where it's like, well, these two characters aren't dating because they didn't say I love you, or like, you know, we didn't say that, you know, we're dating now, even though like the scene itself is one of like the most romantically coded based on other tropes of the genre and what these characters have meant to each other throughout the entire series. Like, all of that context goes out the window because we weren't told explicitly that it happened that way. So I do appreciate Digital Circus for that, because the storytelling does feel very, very intentional.
Yes.
In what it's trying to set up. So unless you have anything else you want to go over, we can dive into the couple Q&A questions I got.
I think I'm good. Yeah, go for it.
So I already did the one from Twitter. Thank you, Retroplaid Guy, channel member. Thank you. From Avon 9684, a fan song of Digital Circus called Happy Place predicted the plot of the show almost perfectly. Have you seen that?
A while ago. It's been a second, but I watched it when it came up in my recommended.
Yeah, I love. It's a good song. But it's one of the only songs this channel did where it explicitly did not say this is not canon. And everyone kind of like just tossed it like, oh, you know, it's that's just a joke. But then like the end of that song is Kane gets really upset and starts crashing out because they keep trying to leave and ignore his adventures. So then he does start torturing each and every one of them individually. And some of them, like, Zubul gets thrown in a blender. Pomni gets, I think, just chucked around by Kane. But, like, some of the stuff, like, it as a concept was very accurate to how the show ended up playing out, which I think is really interesting.
That is cool, actually.
And then from Holland Kellum, going off of the I have no mouth and I must scream inspiration, one could say that the series was making Kane reach the point that he became Am, which was definitely true in this episode.
Yeah.
So, like I said earlier, it's one of those, like, don't look too much into it. Like, we shouldn't be forming our theories on how this is going to go based on how that story specifically went. Because otherwise, like, I don't want to say it's plagiarism, because I'm not accusing Gooseworks of plagiarizing that
obviously
story.
Not.
But if it follows too closely, like, does that not seem boring to people? Like, people who theorize, who are like, oh, Jax is going to die because this character does this in this, in this original story. Like, does that not, like, ruin the fun for you of, like, now I know how it's going to end because I'm following this other story? Like, give Digital Circus room to breathe. Give it room to do its own thing. Because clearly this is not just a wacky fun time circus adaptation of I have no mouth and I must scream.
It's its own thing. Yeah.
So, and Gooseworks was asked, like, if you could do like any film adaptation, what would it be? And the answer was I have no mouth and I must scream. But that doesn't mean that Digital Circus is that.
No.
Like, if someone asked me, like, what would you like to do? Like, oh, well, I can tell you, oh, like, Star Wars really inspired me to write this thing. That doesn't mean that the thing I wrote is Star Wars.
Right, yeah.
Like, the thing I wrote can be inspired and, like, move on from that, while
Mhm.
also saying I would love to do a Star Wars movie. Like, those two
Exactly.
things can be mutually exclusive. So,
Yeah.
that's all Q&A. If you guys want to do more Q&A, you can check us out on Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast. I'll make Jackson post something. The only reason he didn't this time is because, well, he was busy, but also I don't think he's seen the episode yet. So
He hasn't. I actually saw him earlier at church, and he was like, because I still haven't watched it, and I was like, brother,
well,
do it.
Sunday afternoon is a great time to do that. So I'm sure I'll pester him for a little like 60-second summary of his thoughts on the next episode.
Yes.
But you can follow us on Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast, Twitter at Nerdiest Pod, YouTube right here on the community tab, or on YouTube, on community tab for Q&A. I'll do more for the episodes that are coming up, because we're doing 2 more reviews coming up. I'm not gonna say, I don't know. I never trust the schedule. I can't. We've changed it last minute too many times. I also want to give a YouTube shout out to Retro Plaid Guy, our famed channel member. Thank you for supporting the show in that way. Logan, thank you for coming back.
Of course.
Plug yourself. Where can people find you? What do you got going on? That kind of stuff.
You can find me at logout_. I just made another Digital Circus edit based on episode 8, and I think it turned out pretty good. So you can follow me there if you want. I'll be posting more. I hope to post a video essay about the Digital Circus once it's all over and just talk about everything. So if you'd like, you can subscribe to me for that.
Yep. And all of that will be linked in the description. As always, like I said, you can follow the podcast everywhere. And we will be back next week. We're going on a little bit of a weekly burner here, so get ready for all that content, guys. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.
Bye.